Hi everybody, good morning. This is Jean here. Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. This is Jean's Block Party 2019. I'm going to get right to it. This is block number 39 that we've made this week because I have a couple other things to tell you. Block 39, hey, it's a simple 9 patch. I'm getting a bit fed up with that. So next week I think I'm going to do something a little bit different. But this one is pretty. I've used my bright reds and my bright whites this week, as you can see, and it's a pretty like a twirling star. We've done this, just a few more, again, a few more smaller units. Perhaps it looks as if there's 2 colors. I have actually used 4 different fabrics in this block. And I had to do this block because I've had a week of it, and I'll come to that. I've had to do this block, I had to do it, I cut 3 different fabric combinations, trying to be all clever, as I will show you in the tutorial, to have like, this one, the contrast. You really do need just basically 2 high contrast fabrics for this. And I tried to be all clever and do these. Didn't really work, so I had to end up with this block with my bright white in the center to actually see my star. It was getting a little bit muddied and patterns were going and I couldn't see it. So this is my 3rd attempt. There's my back of my little 9 patch. And again, it's a 9 patch with simple squares and squares, which we've done several weeks now, but I've changed it up. There's different fabrics in this square. There's 3 different fabrics, or there's 1, 2, 3 different fabrics in these 4 squares. But again, simple 9 patch. I was thinking about it next week. So people say, could you do a log cabin block? It's so simple. I don't love log cabin blocks. I find them not very simple. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? But I'm going to do one next week. So we're going to do a log cabin block. And again, I guess I'll just do reds on one side and whites on the other. We'll see how that goes, because the log cabin is lights and darks. But anyway, that's block number 39 of our block party. I hope you enjoy that lovely little star. I just wanted to let you know I'm not going to be able to put up, this will probably be on Sunday. I'm really busy. As you know, we've had our flood in our basement, and the insurance people did come. My son, who's a public adjuster, he hastened that along for us. It was very nice. The building work has to be done down there, and over the weekend, last weekend, we were very busy. And I have even though we have a very large family, I have a fairly quiet life here. I don't have a tremendous amount of energy, believe it or not. I'm very spare with my energy. We did a lot last weekend. I got bronchitis again. I'm doing a bit too much. It's a little bit stressful, and I was at urgent care again, and I had 2 breathing treatments, and they did a chest x-ray, and I've not been feeling well, and I'm going to just take it easy. I'm just going to take it easy. So hopefully you'll get notifications. I'm just going to take a few weeks off probably. And also, on last Wednesday, it was good. I was feeling slightly better and didn't push it at all. Our Jen is moving, and on Wednesday evening, I'm filming this on Friday. On Wednesday afternoon, I should say, about 25 friends went over and helped them move all of their belongings into a big, huge U-Haul truck. Their closing will be on today. So they're sort of camping out for the last couple days in their home on air mattresses before they can move into their home Saturday, which will be yesterday for us. Saturday morning, again, we're going to move them back in. Instead of getting a moving crew, we have tons and tons of family and friends, and it was so funny. I'll put a picture up next week of some of the things. It was so funny. Maxwell was helping, and she had boxed everything up. Of course, it was just boxes and furniture that we were moving into the truck. And Maxwell picked up a box with it says fabric, and he's like, oh no, somebody else picked up a box, and he saw fabric, and he's like, hashtag save the fabric. It was so funny. And all of a sudden, I'm like panicking. I'm like, Jen, where in the world is your sewing machine? Your new Juki? And she said, oh, no, no, no. She took her Juki to her father's house. She's like, forget the kids' mementos, forget the good china. It was like, I'm not moving my sewing machine, which was a good thing. So she took that to her father's house, and she was laughing. She came up to me and she said that about Maxwell. He's like, you take care of that fabric and all of her sewing things. She's going to have a small sewing area and permanently set up in her new house. I'll take pictures of that. She's been the last 6 weeks moving, so Jen's off the radar for a minute, but once we get ourselves organized, you're going to be seeing her again in her new home. I'll be taking pictures. I have it'll be a surprise, but she doesn't watch it. I have a wedding shower coming up here in a month, and I'm a little bit panicked because my home is exploded, and we needing to do building work plus get the back garden ready for the shower. So I'm a little bit stressed, and I'm trying to suppress my cough. And I'm going to address it. You guys probably realize, if you've been watching me, that I have a cough. I have a dry cough, constant. I'm constantly excusing myself. I'm aware that there's a tremendous amount of lint in this room. I said before, I said there's lint in the bobbin. What do my lungs look like? I have a filter. I have a HEPA filter. I have a filtration system. I do the best I can. I get outside. My chest is my weak point. I have come to the realization, my lungs and my chest. I've had pleurisy. As I said, they took a chest x-ray. It looked okay. There's no pneumonia or anything, but I'm a bit wiped. So I'm a little bit done. But the one other thing I did do, I soldiered on through for my patrons, which some of you have seen the video. I had made this little slouchy origami bag for my patrons, and that means that if you go to my Patreon account, which is on the bottom here, there's a little tip jar in my room. I do these videos for free on YouTube, but people who have really appreciate them are helping me out a few dollars monetarily each month, and they get a special video. So this is a video of a tutorial that I did making this bag, and then at the end of the month or so, I send the actual product that I make to a random winner. So you want to become a patron, there's the information. This is a nice little boxed slouchy bag for beach towels. It's really big. It's fully lined, completely lined. No raw seams or anything. It's really a good little bag. So that's on my Patreon account. That's that. This is our block 39. I got to take a little bit of a break here and get my home back in order and not stress so much with my chest. So I will see you guys when I see you. You've all had a busy summer, I'm sure. Also, we'll get the quilt done, but maybe just for now I just have to put it aside and concentrate on some other things. So thank you again. Keep checking back in. It'll just be a couple weeks because I do get antsy and I want to come back in my sewing room. And I appreciate all you lovely folks and all your nice comments. I've got to get myself a little bit healthier. So thank you so much, Block 39. I hope you enjoy it. And the next one will be a log cabin, maybe. I'll see how it goes. All right, see you later, folks. Bye. So here we are on block number 39. I have to tell you, I've videotaped this 3 other times. I don't know whether it's because I'm just not feeling well or I didn't get the contrast right. Now, as I was saying in the beginning, I've already told you this most probably, is this, I'm using 4 different fabrics, and I was using some busier fabrics. And I figured out, I was using these fabrics. I was using this for the center, and I was using this one, which you've probably already seen, my bright reds and whites this week, as one of the corners. It wasn't working. It was too muddied, and I couldn't see my block at all. I couldn't see my star at all. So I went back and I got this white for the star, and I've already subcut them. And then I messed up again. I didn't mess up. I was experimenting, and I haven't subcut these, which I will do. But this is my final, this is my final answer, right? But hopefully this will end up good when I start putting it together. Those two, I thought, oh, I'll be busy, and you know, more is more. No, it wasn't. So this is very similar to this. This is a good contrast, and this is a bright contrast. So hopefully this will be my third attempt will be good. So Fabric Day, simple 9 patch this week with a few more pieces, as you will see. Fabric A, here we go. Fabric A, look at this, I'm all confused here. I'll get it, don't worry, we'll get there in the end. Fabric A, our squares around the edges are 4 3.5-inch squares. We've done that a million times before. For our 9 patch. 4 3.5-inch squares. Our Fabric B, which is, again, we're doing a square in a square. For Fabric B, you're cutting 4 2 5/8 squares. Now you'll remember the 5/8 is the little line after the 2.5-inch, right? Hopefully I'll have gotten this right for the contrast, to see this block. They didn't. That wasn't working. So Fabric C, I want you to cut 4 2 3/8 squares. That's 4 2 3/8 squares. I have to subcut these yet. And then you want to, for your center star, you're cutting Fabric D. You're cutting 1 3.5-inch square, again, just in the middle of our 9 patch. And then I've already subcut these. You're going to be cutting 4 2 3/8 squares, just like Fabric C. I have already subcut them. Cut them once on the diagonal. Fabric D, our 2 3/8 squares, you're cutting once on the diagonal. So I've done that already. I've done that several times, actually. So I'll put them aside, and now what I'm just going to do is I'll just set my Fabric C up. So Fabric C and Fabric D, your 2 3/8 squares, you're just cutting once on the diagonal. I can do 2 of them. Line them up on my line here. Make sure my ruler is 1 thread inside so that my blade, when opened, cuts right on the diagonal. These are my 2 3/8 squares for both Fabric C and D. Cut once on the diagonal. So hopefully 3 times the charm when I go to put this together, how it looks. Get rid of these. These didn't work. Isn't that funny? So now what we do, I have, from last week, I think I showed you, I have my black design board, which is just an artist canvas. I think this is a 12 by 18, something like that. I don't know what it is. Big enough to hold my block. And so now I covered it with my black felt. I just super glued the felt. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it here, make sure it's in the frame, and I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to put our block together visually, as we do. Do you guys like doing it this way? I think it's a good way to do it. I really do. I'm such a visual person. So we have our 4 corners, and then we're going, this is a tone on tone. I have to make sure that that's the proper way for me. Put that right in the middle, and look at a nice high contrast. Yes, yes, hopefully, oh, I've gotten it, right. Now I'm going to take my Fabric B, my 2 5/8 squares, and I'm going to set them on the diagonal like that, because we're doing a square and a square, remember? And again, there's no seam allowances here, so it's going to look a little bit funky. Okay, set them like that. And then, where is it? Where's my piece? And then I'm going to take my Fabric C. Hopefully this is I think this is going to work a lot better. So we'll be able to really see my contrasting white. So my Fabric C, this color, goes to each side opposite. You have to be careful of your configuration. And then once we put the white in, the true white, you'll really be able to see the twirling star. So my Fabric C triangles go like that. And then we're going to be breaking this down as we do into our 9 units. So it doesn't look, it looks a bit funky now. But now, again, I'll have to see my tone on tone. this, hopefully, this white star will hopefully pop out at us. So here's our square and a square. We have 4 of those units. I'm putting it like this. Let me see if, when it's all put together, yes, much better. You can see this star, and you can see the contrast of the 3 different reds. But the white star, once obviously it's all put together, that white star will actually really pop out. That's sort of a twisted star. But up close you'll see that you have this, you know, these sort of this is a larger dot and that's a smaller dot. I like that very much. I look through the viewfinder and you can sort of see it pretty good. So there you go. There are our cutting instructions for our block fabric A, B, C, and D. And then you subcut, all right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over to my machine, separate these, and I'm going to I'm going to take each square and a square unit, because I don't have to touch these 5. I just have to put the 4 pieces together here. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to do each opposite corner of my squares, of my blocks, and put them together. I'm at my machine, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down and I'm just going to work with these 4 units here, being careful to keep them exactly like I want. Now I'm going to take I'll take my 2 reds, and I'm going to put this over on here. And if you remembered, with the square and a square, you're going to have this diagonal, the little triangles hanging off, and that's exactly what you want. And that's where you're going to put in your needle, and you're going to make that 1/4 inch seam. I believe maybe just even, what was it, last week's block? Block 37, I did the square and a square exactly like this. This is exactly how we're going to do it. And then I'm going to, let me see how I'm going to press them. Probably, figure that one out here. Put this on the opposite corner, right in that little intersection, right off and right through. Now I'll finger press them out. I'll finger press them out like that, being careful not to stretch that, and then making sure that that's the proper side, because this is a tone on tone. Yeah, this is right. I'm going to put my white piece. See how that hangs off there perfectly. Goes right over through that dog ear, right there, 1/4 inch seam, and right off through the dog ear, like that. These dog ears will get trimmed off, and then I'll put this one right here, having finger pressed. You can pin this by all means if you want. Maybe by this time you don't need to pin. So now I'm going to just trim off these little dog ears. And then there's our lovely little square in a square block. We have 1/4 inch seam, as you can see, there, and there. And then I'm going to put that back on my design board. I'm not quite sure if that's the configuration. I'm just going to do the blocks as they are now. I'm not quite sure. I have to refer back to my little chart there. But I'm going to do this one here, and I'm just going to continue. I'm going to continue doing these blocks now. So I've just squared up 2 of my blocks. I'm squaring up the last 2. I'm squaring these to 3.5 inches, just so that they're exactly the same size as our other blocks. It's just a little bit here and a little bit there. Our left over there, our right over there, being careful of this is the point you're going to match, but we have a nice 1/4 inch seam. The way we've sewn that, we have a nice 1/4 inch seam there and there. We have a nice 1/4 inch seam here and here. So I'm just going to put that, I'm going to do my top row, my middle row. I have a 1/4 inch seam there, and here, and then I'm going to put my block together. So I have sewn my blocks together, my rows together, I should say. I've gone and I've set the seams, and I wanted you to see how beautifully these nest together when they're like that, because these seams want to go out, these want to come in, and this wants to go out. So again, always keeping your configuration in place. Now what I'm going to do, I've matched my 1/4 inch there. I'm going to be aware of this 1/4 inch seam here and there, and then I'll just put my row together, my block together like this, my top to my middle, my bottom to my middle. And then it's very important, and I'll show you, it's very important. I was ironing this, and there's with red and white, you have to be very careful, or dark fabrics, that you get rid of all of these little shreds of dark fabric. If you're using bright white, it will shadow through. I can't express the importance of that. Your white threads aren't going to shadow through on your red, but your reds will shadow through onto your white. Like if you kept it like that and you sewed the block together, you will see that when that's sewn together, and it's just annoying. So just be very careful. Maybe we could do this at the very end of our block. Is that how it's supposed to go? Yes. Yep. I'm just showing you for demonstration purposes. But now I'm going to go over and I'm going to sew my rows together, and our block will be done. Ta-da! There is my little twirling star in my little 9 patch here. Oh, I love it. Excuse me. Let me just see if it's my 9.5 inches. I'm aware of, I have my 1/4 inch seams here, real nice. I'm a little out there, it's okay. A little out there, but this is good. This is all good, nice little points, pretty much. As you know, I don't sweat the small stuff, but I'm just going to trim that up just a little tiny bit, actually. It's pretty good, just that little bottom bit there, and over here, just a little sliver, and yeah, my 9.5 inch block is pretty good. There we go. And there we go, folks. There's my lovely block. Yeah, it's pretty. So it just looks like sort of 3 fabrics, but it's 4. And that was the trick. As I said, I was trying to get clever and use all of these funky fabrics, and it wasn't working. This one and this one, it wasn't working. As you can see, it was just a mishmash. So be very careful this week, because this sort of forms a star, almost as I'm looking through the viewfinder. This sort of forms a star, and then you have your your high contrast. So really high contrast for this week's block number 39. I hope you love it. I soldiered on through floods and bronchitis and pressure, but the show must go on, right? And I love it. Thank you so much, folks, for following along, and all your best wishes. I appreciate it. And we will see you hopefully next week. See ya. Bye.